You got 2/3 of the junk connoisseurs ready to podcast. 1/3 isn't here.
Well, and 1/3 is grossly unprepared. As usual, Alex, our former Boy Scout, is following the Scout motto.
Yeah,
The rest of us just can't be bothered.
I don't know how prepared I am.
You were an Eagle Scout, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy Scouted up to the fullest.
Hey, I'm here.
Hey.
We already recorded.
What?
We already recorded.
Yeah, we're good.
We're
Okay,
done.
cool. Bye. I actually just realized I left the headphones upstairs. I'll be back.
Cool.
Have you got mine too?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I thought so.
I tried that keto diet, but man,
Too many stops at Quick Trip.
yeah. I went back to the sausages and corn dogs, egg rolls, not just taquitos.
You gotta have balance. I mean, they don't have that many nutrients in it. There's
Brought
very little meat in these gym mats.
to you by the keto diet, taquitos. The taquito diet.
I just get to be a White Claw today.
You're a basic bitch.
Is that? I was gonna say it seems like it's now kind of has it's a euphemism for.
There's no law when you're drinking the claw.
Is that what they say?
That is what they used to say. I don't know what
That
they say
is a
now.
marketing technique for a bit, which I cringe over because you're like, hey, get drunk and go wreck shit. Like,
I'll just like Las Vegas embrace what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Like, okay, an entire city, admittedly, goes by Sin City. A lot of people call it, is embracing infidelity as as a marketing. Yeah.
hard pass, yo.
I've been to Vegas exactly once. It was for the SEMA show, which was pretty cool. Would have been fine with me if it was in Topeka, Kansas. Like, I could have.
Yeah,
I would have appreciated. Yes.
Yeah, the only thing there was the show that you were interested in.
That was the only thing I was interested in.
I like Vegas for a couple of days because I actually like table gambling and I enjoy drinking in new and weird spots and seeing people even drunker than me doing dumb shit. And that's on, I actually spent New Year's Eve in Las Vegas once, which is, I guess, is like New Year's Eve in Sarajevo in 1996. It's just, there's trash everywhere. There's people everywhere. There's explosions going off. It's just utter melee. And it's like, and then my phone died and I'm like, I think I know where I'm staying. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, it was fun. It wasn't fun. What's the word? It was crazy. It was like it was a spectacle that I can say I've seen and I will never do again.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I've only been there once, and it was with my family, so nothing crazy occurred. But
Yeah.
it was just like everything was either obnoxiously expensive or incredibly weirdly cheap.
The incredibly weirdly cheap is designed to get you to gamble.
Yeah.
That's why the drinks. Well, I don't think they're free anymore if you're on the floor. But like it used to be, it was just if you didn't want anything specific, it was just like, could I have a beer? Could I have a rum and coke? It just appears.
Yeah.
And you continue spending money.
No, we did that once when we were playing slots. Some server came by and got us some just basic ass drinks. But the problem is you have a free drink and you should probably tip like $3 or $4 for it. And at that point, it's not free. It's fine.
Those servers make bank.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
So I
good
usually,
on them because they have to deal with some.
Oh no, it is
crap.
actual work.
Yeah.
But they are well compensated for their actual work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went twice in the span of about the first time I went in my my final year of law school over spring break with some similarly cheapskate friends of mine, and I swear we went and we each spent like. We shared one hotel room for 6 people. We spent 3 days, and I think I spent a total of $4 because I won some blackjack. And we just gambled and drank and sat in the sports book, and we were kind of playing it close to the vest. And I won a little bit and managed to basically come out like $4 for the whole trip. Then I got back and our buddy who I've doxed repeatedly is like, I'm getting married. I'm going to Vegas for the bachelor party. And I'm like, oh, please no. So we went, and in 4 days, I think I spent $1,500 because he wanted to do all of the stuff. We got, the only thing I ate in that 4 days, I ate an $83 steak, which was the best piece of meat I've ever had.
Yep.
And then we found a bar in the Excalibur where they would give you a beer and a hot dog for $3. So I had
That's awesome.
so an $83 steak and like 12 hot dogs was all I consumed for 96 hours. We went to.
I'm laughing, but if I found that deal, that's where I'd be too.
It also has given rise to one of the best stories I've ever had to tell. It's not anything I did. I was peripherally involved, but it was absolutely amazing. So we have a friend in the friend group with the friend I'm not supposed to dox anymore. Another guy that we worked with at Red Lobster, and he's an interesting guy. We'll call him Peanut because that's what we call him. Shout out to Peanut. I don't think he listens. Anywho, there were 9 of us on this trip, and one of the things he who shall not be named wanted to do was bottle service in a nightclub, and we're all like, oh God. So Peanut says, I got this, guys. I've got this planned. We'll go on this night to this club in the basement of our hotel. I got this planned. So the night rolls around, and we're all dressed moderately well, in that we are all like schlubby late 20s white dudes, and we have no women with us, and we're all wearing like khakis and button downs. And, we're not exactly club goers, but we're dressed out and dressed nice, Yeah. We're following Peanut through the casino to the entrance to the club. And the line for the club is winding all the way around the outside of the casino.
Oh, wow.
And we're like, should we be in line? He's like, I got this. Just follow along and follow my lead. And he's got a brown paper bag in his hand. Small one. We don't know what's in it. This was 2009. So this will be important in a minute because what's in that bag is ubiquitous now. But at the time, it was our key to get in.
It was a mouse in a beer bottle, a la Strange Brew. No?
No.
Okay, darn.
We
That
walk
would be
up
great.
to the mountain of a man who is like bouncing at the end of the velvet rope, and he looks at us and goes, "Can I help you, gentlemen?" In that tone of voice, like, this better be good. Peanut sticks out his hand and goes, "Afternoon, sir. My name is Herber. I was told that I have a mutual friend working here. His name's Antonio. Is Antonio on tonight?" And clearly he had the right name because the guy said, "He's my supervisor, let me check." So the bouncer goes back and comes back with this even larger Samoan gentleman. If he wasn't 7 feet tall, I'd be amazed. Antonio walks up to Peanut and goes, "Gentlemen, what's going on? What can I help you with? Something? It's a busy night. This better be good." Peanut sticks out his hand, says, "Good evening, Antonio. We have a mutual friend," and I don't remember the guy's name. I never met him, but we have a mutual friend. He told me you're from Kansas City and you're missing home, and he pulls a bottle of Gates barbecue sauce out of the bag. It is $3 at any grocery store in Missouri. You can get it on Amazon now for $3.50 and they'll ship it to you, but this was 2009. Amazon only sold books.
Yeah.
Antonio lit up like a little kid on Christmas morning, and he goes, "Oh my God, I didn't think you were going to come. Come on. I got a table for you by the stage. Just follow me. Your first bottle's on me, guys. Come on." And I swear to God, the 20 people in line who saw this happened wanted to murder us.
Yes.
Because we got in no cover on a $3 bottle of barbecue sauce. They're just like, what just happened? And we're all like, is this actually happening? Is he going to lead us into an alley and beat us to death? Nope. Sat us down, bottle of vodka in front of us, and
So you traded him a $600 bottle of vodka, possibly, for $3 of barbecue sauce.
we got a second bottle later, and that was exactly what it was.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Like,
The moral of the story is Peanut's a baller.
yes, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's very, very much what I hear at the end of this story, too.
He's pulling that Kansas City, like, that was Kansas City clout.
Hometown feels. If it was somebody
awesome.
from St. Louis, would he have shown up with an Emo's pizza?
That would have gotten us thrown in the alley and beaten. I like emos, but man, it is an acquired taste.
But if you're
Potentially,
a
yes.
St. Louis
We're
native, you just
Antonio
show
from
up
St.
with
Louis.
a box and
Yeah.
open it.
Crap on a cracker.
Yeah. No, that is an excellent story.
Yeah. We still drink to Antonio 15 years later.
That's awesome.
To Antonio.
Brought to you today by Food Enough. There are plenty of podcast advertisers offering fancy, expensive meal kit options. Food Enough is different in that we offer simple, fast kits that will make the hungry feeling go away for a little while. Are you too busy or lazy to bother with meal planning and prep? Do you sometimes wish you could just switch to another app, order food, and never even have to remove your gaze from your phone screen? Then Food Enough is for you. We offer dozens of low-effort meal kits that will allow you to keep scrolling with minimal interruption. For example, one of our most popular kits is a sleeve of saltine crackers paired with a pouch of tuna fish and a single-serving packet of mayonnaise. That's tuna salad for Food Enough customers. Or, for the times you're feeling a little more ambitious and are willing to operate a can opener and add heat, we have another favorite. This kit includes a can of chili, a pack of hot dogs, buns, and pre-shredded cheese. With Food Enough, you'll be enjoying chili dogs faster than you can hit skip intro while binge watching your new favorite show. Food Enough, your solution to apathy-based starvation. Well, thanks for listening to the Junk Connoisseurs podcast. This episode has been selected to be beamed into space.
Are we putting this on Voyager 3?
Well, remember Voyager 1 shut down recently? I think it was because our citation episode
Caught up with it.
But then they put some better podcast and it fired back up. So
I was saying they reestablished contact. I thought
No,
he was like on the verge of satellite suicide, but he decided, I want to live.
You're here tonight with Alan, Jordan, and Alex, the Junk Connoisseurs. Thanks for listening. Please find us, like us, subscribe to us, find us on Facebook. Send us an email. Let us know what's going on in your world, particularly when it comes to cars or bribing bouncers with barbecue sauce.
Yeah, excellent stories are absolutely appreciated because we will read them on the air. And
Well, it's Alex. It's my turn to pick one tonight. I've picked a good one, I think. I don't think any of us have owned this particular vehicle. Pretty sure. I don't think the three of us have discussed this vehicle not in front of microphones. I wouldn't be surprised if all three of us know it, love it, and know a bunch about it. I also wouldn't be surprised if one or two of us are like, I've never even heard of this before. So, want to hazard any guesses or ask for any hints?
so it's something that you love.
Yes, this vehicle meets all of the requirements that make it cool in my mind.
Okay. So Iron Duke. Oh wait, that's the wrong triangle. Sorry.
Yeah. I don't know that Lotus was involved. I don't think they were. Didn't see that anywhere. Wouldn't surprise me if maybe
Could
Lotus.
they have been given the era?
It's possible, but certainly another iconic automotive personality was.
Oh, what else did Bricklin? What else was Bricklin involved with?
I think we've been over all the hits.
How about Carroll Shelby? Lee Iacocca.
Lee Iacocca had his grubby mitts on a lot of stuff.
But
The original Mustang.
But we've talked about
all
of those.
That's the thing. All right, Alex, is this vehicle domestic or European or Japanese?
It's European.
Okay.
And that's why we haven't talked about it, is because that usually strays outside of our norm.
Our norm, particularly mine, as we got called out for somebody. One of our listeners and friends noted that he got delight out of hearing me realize that cars were also made in Europe. I guess apparently I have a bit of surprise by that sometimes.
Is this vehicle an American-European crossover?
A little bit.
Okay.
And a little bit, but it's mostly British.
Mostly British. Okay, well that answers that question, because I was going to ask if it was a Mercedes W123.
Yeah.
V8 rear-wheel drive British.
Is that
Land
personality
Rover.
Carroll Shelby?
The one that I was alluding to is Carroll Shelby.
Yeah, boy.
And I've just led you guys down the wrong path. Because what are you thinking when I say Carroll Shelby in an English car?
I'm thinking the Cobra.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking the Sunbeam Tiger.
You are correct. Boom! Nice. Nicely played. I figured we'd probably go down the wrong path first, but you nailed it. It is.
I knew you were going to try to throw us off.
Well, not trying to, but I know that's how that goes. When you say British sports car and Carroll Shelby, Cobra comes up.
I didn't realize that Shelby was involved in the Sunbeam at all.
So that, I infer by doing a little bit of reading on this the last couple of days that is a little overplayed. Now, here's how it worked out. I'll tell you a little bit of the background. In the early 60s, the Roots Group, who owned Sunbeam, the brand, and I think many other brands, this was kind of early days of conglomerates, so to speak, of
Talbot,
corporate.
I think Simca was French. They may have wound up in the Roots Group.
I
not
don't know
positive
all of
about
them. I think you're right. Talbot,
Sunbeam,
Hillman.
Yeah. There were like a lot of the smaller British manufacturers.
Yeah, it seemed
Maybe
like,
Morris?
and again,
I'm
I
not
don't.
sure.
I'm not real well versed at most of those brands. I didn't see Morris in there, but it could have been.
Morris was BMC because
Yeah.
they were mini. Like,
But
yeah.
they seemed to be one of the early. The Roots Group was kind of buying up some of these other brands, and they had several brands, but it kind of made them like a General Motors or a Ford or a Chrysler or a Stellantis now. But they were looking. The Roots Group was looking for a way to sell their little 2-seat sports car, the Sunbeam Alpine, to greater markets than just the local European market, notably, I'm sure, the U.S. and North America. And they kind of knew that their little 4-cylinders at around 80-some horsepower weren't really going to do the trick in the Wild West. So they kind of were looking for options on how to have a little bit more power in this little 4-cylinder Sunbeam Alpine. And apparently, they talked to a few folks. They talked to Ferrari.
I bet that conversation went great.
I don't know. It didn't happen. I'll put it that way.
They went and talked to Ferruccio Lamborghini, like, hey, I just talked to Enzo. Do you want to do this? Yeah, you can have it for free. That guy's an asshole.
So they talked to Ferrari. That didn't happen. They were talking to folks, having conversations, and in the Wikipedia article it mentions that they talked to Jack Brabham, who mentioned maybe look into one of these Ford V8s. So this is 1962-63 time frame that this was going. 1962, really, probably. This was going down, and this is right when Carroll Shelby and AC built the Cobra with the early Ford Windsor block V8s, and they ultimately did end up talking to Shelby and said, hey, can you modify one of our cars and do a prototype to here's what we want to do. And he said, sure, $10,000, send me 2 cars and give me a few weeks and I'll put it together. And they also evidently, somebody was a little impatient and they went straight to Ken Miles, who worked with Carroll Shelby, and said, we just really want to see something quick. Also, could you do something? He said, sure, give me $800 in a car. And he did a quick, crude, like, I'll make it fit kind of shoehorn job, which that was the goal, is make it work quick.
Yeah.
So they went to Shelby and he's like, give me 10 grand and 2 cars. And,
That's
and
what this is Wikipedia
Yeah.
research,
Yeah.
but yes,
But then just walked over to Ken Miles and he was like, I'll do it for a postage stamp and some spin. He just probably wanted to make something that goes fast.
probably so. And so he did, and they were like, well, that's pretty cool. And then Shelby's came out, and they really ended up, his was a little bit more refined. And I'll talk about what some of the differences were. And Shelby did a pretty nice job, probably, and was really hoping to be the builder of these cars, much like he had with the Cobra and AC, and was doing at that time. But ultimately, they ended up building these at Jensen back in England. They didn't have room at their Sunbeam plant or their whatever Roots plant they wanted to that they would have used for this, where the Alpines were being built. It just didn't make sense, so they contracted out to Jensen, to one of their plants, and that's where they were ultimately built. And evidently in that development phase, Lord Roots, one of the grumpy elder Roots gentleman, was he found out, hey, this has been going on. When they presented it to him, and he hadn't known it was happening, this development was going on, he said, ship it over here, let me see it. So they shipped it to England, and he insisted on driving it himself and was like, whoa, I like this is good. He called up Henry Ford Jr. and said, I would like to buy your engines, please. 3,000, would that do? They're like, yes, sir. We will send you 3,000 engines to build your first year of Sunbeam Tigers.
And those were early. Those were 260. Those weren't even the 289 yet.
Right.
They were still the 260, right?
So the Sunbeam Tiger, again, based on the Sunbeam Alpine, which is a 4-cylinder, 2-seat British roadster. Imagine an MGB with tail fins like a 57 Chevy.
Yep.
Not quite as large as a 57 Chevy, the tail fins.
Distinctive.
But
Yeah.
they were there. I think they were very tasteful. I
like 'em.
absolutely love the looks of one of these things. But I think, tell me if I'm not on base
No,
on that.
that's pretty close.
MGB with tail fins. That's
Yeah.
what it looks like.
I mean,
And
it's close enough. It's dimensionally, it's similar, and I mean, they're from the same era.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And the Alpine was fairly sprightly, even with the 4-cylinder. It was not slow.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was early '60s British sports car, so
Yeah.
it would be left for dead by a Hyundai Sonata today. But
Right.
it was
Right.
at the time it was fairly sprightly, and they handled nicely. They were old, kind of crude, like most of them. But
Yes.
the Windsor was pretty revelatory when it came out because it was tiny.
Yeah.
It put out good power, and it was lighter and more compact than a small block Chevy, which itself is a pretty well packaged engine.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
I don't think they were even that much heavier than the Sunbeam 4, were they?
no,
So-
unlikely.
Well, they did add 20% weight. So the Sunbeam Alpine weighed roughly 2,200 pounds.
Yeah.
With the V8 instead of the 4-cylinder in the Tiger, it weighed 2,650 pounds.
Okay.
So it added a little bit of weight, more weight on the nose, obviously, but the performance was pretty good. They were with the 260 the first 3 years. So from 64 to 67, these were produced, and the first 3 years were using the 260 small block Windsor Ford V8, and then that last year used the 289.
I wonder if part of it is the transmission requirements and rear axle requirements for an 80 horsepower 4-cylinder is about 0, whereas the American V8 probably came with a American style 4-speed that may have added 75 pounds, and then maybe it upgraded to, I don't know, Ford 7.5 inch or whenever those came out.
Yeah, I didn't look into what added all the weight, and we agree that the Ford Windsor V8's pretty small, compact for its power output specifically. I mean, it fits in a small space. We've all looked at it and thought, man, that's really cool. But with iron cylinder heads and stuff, it was a heavy chunk.
That's true.
And it did have probably a cast iron. Ultimately, the Ford, probably the top loader, I guess. I don't know, the Mustang 4-speed of the day.
I think they got a T10. Don't quote me on that.
They didn't for production necessarily. Maybe in some of the later cars, and some of the earlier cars got a different, and I forget what it was. Maybe that was the T10, but most of them got kind of the 4-speed that was in the Mustangs.
I didn't know when the top loader came out. I thought that was a little bit later.
I don't know the old Ford transmissions very well, so maybe I'm wrong.
The whole idea was it had
top loader.
internal shift rails, so it shifted better, and it didn't have the chance of getting bound up on the outside like the T10 did. or
Okay.
most.
So scratch that. I don't know if
Yeah.
top loader is the right terminology. I know that was a very popular Ford transmission back in the day.
and they were heavy. I mean,
Yeah.
they're a cast iron chunk.
Regardless, it was a cast iron 4-speed transmission, I'm sure. I don't know what the Alpine, the base car, the 4-cylinder had for a rear end, but I read that the Sunbeam Tiger got a Dana 44 style solid axle rear end with leaf springs in the rear, coil springs in the front.
Okay.
Some of the performance wise, we were talking about it. It did 0 to 60 in 8.6 seconds with the 260, and later with the 289, 7.5 seconds was the time. The 260 only put out about 164 horsepower.
But that was double stock, so
Double stock, and that was with a 2-barrel Autolite carburetor from the factory.
Yeah.
And you can guess what 90% of people did as soon as that thing showed up.
Cam 4-barrel headers.
Well,
Yeah.
pull off the intake and put on a 4-barrel intake and carburetor, and hey, it's not that hard to do a cam and headers and that kind of stuff. They made packages for them to hot rod them, which was kind of cool.
it's just you buy this specialty product, and I realize it's 1964
when it came out,
and it's this tiny convertible from England, and they have the whole English roadster culture thing is developing, and it does 0 to 60 in 8.5 seconds, which is not quick even by those that was moderately quick during that time period.
Yeah.
I mean, it's faster than any stock other British roadster.
Yeah.
Short of a 260 Cobra, which did not. I think when Shelby bought it, he didn't put a stock 260 2-barrel in anything. It was hotted up.
Well,
Right.
But yeah,
it was
Potential was
probably
there,
a
though.
different target market, because I suspect the Cobra was a fair bit more expensive.
I
We'll
would
probably
almost
get there.
Guarantee.
But
Oh yeah. These things cost about $3,500 in their day when they were launched in '64. You can, near as makes no difference, add a zero to that today. They're worth or if that was in today's dollars, it'd be about $35,000 new
For
1964.
So that's only 30% over a V8 Mustang for 1965, say.
roughly,
which-
$1,000 more than a Mustang.
Which then makes sense.
Yep.
Whereas I bet a Cobra was 3 or 4 times that.
I haven't looked into what the Cobras cost, but I'm sure you're right. And
Yeah.
the word "poor man's Cobra" gets thrown around a lot
of
when
course.
talking
They
about this.
are still the poor man's Cobra.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, compared to an actual Cobra, I think they've probably appreciated to the point you could buy a Cobra replica before you could buy an actual Tiger.
I would say that I was thinking
Yeah.
the same thing while
But-
getting ready for this. I'd say they're probably in the same ballpark. A nice Cobra kit car, and one of these are probably, you could find examples higher and lower either way, but in the neighborhood, in the ballpark, in the $40,000 to $60,000 range.
Well, they're targeted at very much the same buyer at this point.
Now, so many
Yeah.
years in the future. Yeah.
And then if you want an actual Cobra, add
Oh,
a zero.
yeah.
And
At
if you want a
least.
427 Cobra, add a 0 and multiply by 5. Yeah, they are not
No.
in the realm of affordability.
I've actually seen one. I was
Really?
yeah.
How many have?
No.
Like museum or
No, the Grassroots Motorsports.
Shut up.
Tim, he bought one.
he bought an actual?
It's a narrow
Shelby
body,
Cobra.
small block Cobra.
Holy cow!
It's freaking awesome.
That
Oh, yeah.
that astounds me because I remember, our friend who shall not be named. We need a euphemism. We need like an alias.
Fitches be tripping.
Yeah. Yeah. Our friend Fitches be trippin'. Fitches is his first name. B is middle initial. Trippin'. It's actually TRIIEPPEN.
Yeah.
So Fitches be trippin' asked me at a show once. He's like, "Is that a real Cobra?" And I was like, "Oh, bless your heart." like he just didn't realize that they are not a thing. Like if you see it being driven on the street, like I'm astounded. I didn't know.
Well, the only people who are going to drive a real Cobra on the street are like Jay Leno and
Yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah.
People who can afford to wreck it.
Right?
Yeah. Normal people are going to look at it in a bubble. I don't know how that one made it to the post-challenge thing, but yeah, it was there. It was cool.
That's awesome.
I definitely gawked at it for a bit.
Yeah, that would be cool. But again, what good is an actual and a real Cobra? What good is it? You can't use it.
It's an investment. Yeah.
It's a retirement account you can look at.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
run with a
Well,
diaper.
and
Okay, that's
Yeah.
more fun than a CD.
I guess,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
More
Well,
fun than a certificate. that you can look at
hypothetically, you take it
certificate
on a
of deposit.
parade lap every couple of years, and you drive it in a parade because I don't know, because I would be so afraid.
I mean, I understand. I know how cool, and I know that I would love a Cobra, but what would I do with it? Yeah, that's. I mean, I'd have to build a fancier building than my house to store it in, and I would rather have a replica that I could go
That you
beat
could
on.
beat on, yeah, for sure,
agreed.
And I would still feel bad about that. I think because they're
You're
pretty
weird.
special.
yeah.
They're not that special. The replicas.
You're right. They're not.
How much does it cost to build a Factory 5 now? I knew for a while
Are you doing it yourself or are you paying
doing it
somebody?
yourself. I remember back in the day they were like, you can do this for under 20 grand.
That's 30 to
And I figured it was probably
35
30 now because that was 20 years ago. But I remember looking at that and being like, the kit's 12 grand. You need
Yeah.
a wrecked 5-liter Mustang, and you need several weekends and a couple $1,000s for miscellaneous stuff. But you
Yeah.
can do it, and that
Now,
was the whole reason they marketed it. But that's been a while.
And they're targeting so Factory 5 is definitely the company that targets the do-it-yourselfer on a budget.
Yeah,
They are at the very bottom of the Cobra replica market.
really.
There might be a couple of companies that make cheaper bodies, but you got to build your own frame. So they're it for.
I thought they had a good
Kits.
reputation. As yes, it is DIY,
No.
but it is well built and well engineered.
It is
as
gotten-
opposed to
it's-
some terribly built
Yes.
and engineered replicas back in the day.
I wasn't saying worst
Got it.
quality. They are.
Most DIY
disc-
required.
yes, they-
like
yes.
you actually need to have some mechanical aptitude
Right.
and some tools to make this work.
And
It's
then-
not just a do you have a 3/8 inch socket set with all the common sizes and a long extension?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. Okay.
Putting together a Lotus 7.
Right.
No, but so they're at the low end of the price scale. And then, of course, you have the other end, which there's a couple that I don't recall off the top of my head, but the Superformance
yeah.
out of
South
South
Africa.
Africa makes amazing stuff. But it's also $100,000 to get into a car. But they send a car to the United States, and it goes to a shop, and the shop installs the engine and transmission, and you have a complete car. That's it.
Brought to you by WD-39. Almost as good as WD-40, but it costs a lot less. Well, and so back to the Tiger, they built over the 4 years about 7,000 of them, a little over 7,000 of them. These cars had 13-inch wheels, 4.5 inches wide. They had disc brakes at the front. They were little. They weren't even 10 inches. Drum brakes at the rear. A Dana 44 axle, as I mentioned, and a little Autolite 2-barrel carburetor. They were modified with a few things that I came up with that were necessary or done to convert them to the V8. They relocated the oil filter. There was a spark plug access panel in the firewall on the driver's side.
Are you listening, Chevy? You should have been.
Well, and this, I watched Jay Leno. There's a couple videos on YouTube. Jay Leno does. I don't know that he has had one of these back when he was broke, and it was like, I can afford this and just
Yeah.
really can't. But he had it, and it was cool. But he was interviewing an owner of one, and they drove it, and they looked at it, and they're looking at the engine compartment, and are just like, wow, you could not fit a larger engine in this space. There just isn't room. So there was some sledgehammer work done to provide a dent for clearance in either probably the firewall area. The rear end with leaf springs also got a Panhard bar for lateral stability added. It had stiffer front springs, and they changed it to a rack and pinion steering setup versus the Alpine had just a recirculating ball type steering box.
The rack and pinion usually actually takes less space.
Well, especially if it's unpowered.
Yeah, if it's got to go around things, sometimes it works better to have a recirculating ball and tie rods because you can make that into a C shape, and a rack kind of has to be straight across.
Yeah. If a rack works, it's the way to go, and
Yeah.
evidently that's what Shelby envisioned, and so that's the direction this went. So I was saying early on that I think that Shelby's input is a little overplayed. That was probably a misstatement. I think this probably wouldn't have happened and been the... I don't think iconic is the right word. It's iconic in my mind, but I think these are largely forgotten, these Sunbeam Tigers. But I don't think it would have become what it had without his input, because he had the vision and some experience to make this work. However, then he was kind of out, and it was all Jensen that was doing the building of them. But I'm sure that... he enjoyed the royalties that he was paid for having come up with the design.
Of
That
course he
eased
was.
his pain some.
That's
Sounds like a very Shelby thing to do.
Yeah.
Well, hey, that was part of the deal. He got royalties for having come up with the successful concept that they later sold. But you see a lot of these, when you're looking at pictures and videos of Sunbeam Tigers, people have signatures from Carroll Shelby on the car and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, that is cool, but he didn't produce these. I don't know. Maybe I'm too picky.
It's probably not dissimilar to somebody who has, I don't know, somebody from Pininfarina sign their car because they were the design house, but
Yeah.
then they didn't do anything actually
Yeah.
with the building.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you get a chance to get Carroll Shelby's signature, of course you're going to get it. And if it's on, yes, I would do the same. So I'll
At
rescind
least-
what I just said.
Well,
Why wouldn't they do that?
I see your thought process because he was involved, but frankly, God rest his soul, he was also kind of a
fertilizer salesman
yes
of the highest magnitude.
So
He's the wheeler dealer.
yeah, but my point is this all happened 70 years ago.
Yeah.
How much? Actually, that's not right. 60 years ago. How much truth is on Wikipedia?
Exactly. No, I put very little stock. I got a few facts out of there, and I'm also inserting some of my own. I think this is probably what was going on into this story, and take it for what it's worth.
Sure. But it's just one of those things. I could see him possibly over embellishing his involvement and say like the 80s and nobody was around to tell him, no, that's not how it happened. And this is where we are today.
Yeah.
Can I say something super on brand for me?
Go ahead.
Permission granted. Preparing to receive.
It might be coming
Information.
my direction if it's on brand for him.
You know who the corporate parent of the Roots Group was?
I do. That's coming up.
Okay. long as it's in the mix, okay. Which is a little funny considering they were, building this brand X V8 because nothing brand Y made would fit.
Yeah. Well, let's go there. So, the demise of the Sunbeam Tiger is widely credited, again, 60 years in the future, to Chrysler having purchased the Roots Group.
And now I see why this is on brand.
And when they took full control in 1967, they took Powered by Ford off of the fenders and just put a Pentastar. That's it. It didn't have a Chrysler engine in it, obviously. They didn't want to sell, service, or warranty a Ford-powered vehicle that was under their umbrella, so they killed it off.
You can't necessarily blame them from a
No.
corporate point of view, but yeah.
They tried to put something that they made in there, but they just didn't have anything.
Nothing was that small.
The
and they're-
Ford Windsor V8 is a little bit of a cool
is.
miracle is too far. It's an anomaly.
It
It's
is.
a tiny little engine that gets high output.
Yeah.
It fits in places that you wouldn't think.
The Buick 215 was probably
Yep.
a tiny bit smaller, but it also wasn't as good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's fair to say.
Yeah. The way I heard it described to me by an old head once was the small block Ford was built to go in anything. The small block Chevy was built was designed to be built for $9, and the small block Mopar was hellishly over-engineered and 100 pounds heavier than either of them, and quite a bit bigger physically.
And so Chrysler started being invested in having ownership in the Roots Group. I think back about 63 or 4 when
64
this
was when it
project
started.
was taking off. Okay, so
Yeah, they started buying
64,
in.
they had about 20%. They didn't have a controlling interest, and I think somebody on the British side was keeping them from getting too involved too quickly, keeping Chrysler to get involved.
It was
in
very much a
stages.
point of pride in the
Yes.
British motoring industry that it was British, and they did not want. Most of the British companies did not want conglomeration. They didn't want to be a global company. They wanted to be British.
Right.
And I think that was kind of the impetus behind British Leyland too. Was oh God, they're going to buy us out. Either the Japanese or the Americans are going to come over here and start buying our brands. So we need to just jam them all together and make them get along.
And it worked for a few years.
It was a noble idea.
Now Fiat owns everything.
And yeah.
or Tata,
I don't
or
really know
one
who
of the
does it.
various Chinese automotive groups.
Tata owns
BYD.
Yeah, the Indians own Jaguar and Land Rover.
Which is
they own the two
hilarious.
prides of the British motoring industry, and it's like, ooh, I don't think that's an accident. I really
Yeah,
don't. I
no.
think
Little
it's
bit
like
of retribution
all right,
there.
how's your empire now? You know,
I mean, it's the tiniest bit, but I'm sure that somebody somewhere really enjoys it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that.
well, those are like the last two prestige British brands, except for Lotus, which I think.
Well, Rolls and Bentley.
Well, yeah, that's fair, but they're owned by the Germans,
Yeah.
which they don't like that either. I mean, geez.
but it's probably better than the Indians for
Yeah.
the conservatives of British
Well, it is
society.
It is kind of funny that Chrysler started being involved in the Roots Group about the time this project was starting to get rolling, and over the course of the 4 years this car was produced, they became. They had a controlling interest and gave it the axe as soon as they could. And like Alan said, you can't really blame them for not wanting to produce, sell, and service and warranty a vehicle with a competitor's engine in it.
Yeah.
And they just didn't have one that would actually fit in there. So it was better for them to just not produce it anymore.
Now, they did get a pretty neat Chrysler Roots crossover a couple years later with the Jensen Interceptor.
Okay.
Which is, if I don't know if you know anything about them, Alex. Imagine, if you will, a giant 70s hatchback powered by a 440 Chrysler.
Okay.
Because that's what they are. It's a giant, weird looking but still attractive Grand Tourer
Yeah.
with a giant glass hatchback and a big block Chrysler and like a gentleman's luxury express essentially, and they're neat. They're
It
they
you could have put the Rover SD1 next to the Jensen Interceptor and said this is the next generation.
Got it.
Yeah.
They were similar body shape, but the Jensen was a 2-seater GT car.
4-seater 2-door.
Sorry, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
2-door 4-seater
Yeah.
GT car. Or the coupe version of the Jag E-Type.
Yeah,
maybe like
very much like a coupe-
bit of a
coupe-y type.
budget version of that.
Yeah,
Got it.
I'm sure they were still expensive, but
They were, and they sold them over. They sold a lot of a fair few of the Interceptors came over here. They were popular here amongst the, I want something foreign
Yeah.
crowd.
but I'm
But-
going to get
but
with
I-
a Chrysler.
But
I
the
want my
only,
Chrysler
the only
big
thing
block.
I have in town is a Chrysler dealership, and I don't want to wait for parts.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Pantera. It's like I'm gonna get a foreign car with an American engine so I can have Frank down at the dealership work on it.
So I'm noticing a pattern. It's becoming a pattern now. This is the third, at least, car we've talked about, and we haven't talked about the Cobra, but this was in there also, where they take a Ford V8 and put it in a European car and
Yeah.
do cool stuff with it.
Yeah.
Well, then perhaps it's because the U.S. in the 60s knew how to make engines.
Yes. Yeah.
We did not know how to make cars because a lot of our cars were just mediocre, if not poor. Like suspension design wasn't a thing that occurred here.
Yeah.
You're right. And part of that, I think, was in the U.S., we just drive in straight lines
Yeah.
and sweeping curves anywhere we want to go as fast as we can.
It's a big open country.
And these little British cars and the Italian cars are built for windy countrysides or mountains or whatever. And not that we don't have some of those things here, but it was pretty easy to sell a Mustang with a 260 or 289 to go as fast as you can down the pre-interstate U.S. highway system. So I think that was part of it.
Yeah.
Is the conditions of the market where it would be sold.
I've never been to Detroit. Have either of you?
Yes, I am
think I
too
have.
close to that right now.
What? Anyway, what's the what's the landscape of Detroit like?
Well,
Is it a flat plain or slight rolling hills,
well,
mountains? I know that one's not true.
so that's interesting that you bring this up because I was listening to another podcast that I've become a fan of, and they were talking about part of the reason that the big 70s Malaise cars were what they were was because they were designed and tested in Detroit with potholes and stoplight every block and this and that, and you could just get in those suckers and it would soak up the bumps and they go fast in a straight line and
Michigan's roads have the worst potholes and frost heaves because they have so many freeze cycles every winter.
Right.
That their roads are bombed out, and I mean also Detroit. I mean, has never been, at least since the 70s, 60s, and 70s. It's been a pretty impoverished, relatively speaking. The tax base ain't there, you know. So yeah.
What I was getting at is I was pretty certain Michigan was a moderately flat state. So lots of straight line highways where you can get up to 90 miles an hour and not a whole lot of curvy Appalachian style tail of the dragon roads where somebody wants to go out and carve it up like you would in
probably like here you probably have to kind of seek that out. Everybody wants to get around on interstates now, obviously, but I think it a little bit different, but that's where the cars were being designed, and so it made sense at the time.
Yep.
Let's think Ford V8s going into European stuff. So the Tiger, the Pantera, the Cobra. I mean, there's got to be other stuff out there.
There are, and I'm not going to be able to come up with them on the spot, but I'm sure that's a pattern that we saw in the 60s and 70s that kind of made some neat stuff.
The Italians liked small block Chevys and big block Mopars. Well, I guess the Monteverdi was actually Swiss, but like the Monteverdi High had a 440 Mopar. The Bizzarini, I can't remember what it was. Bizzarini was an Italian, neat fiberglass coach-built looking thing that had a small block Chevy. And you talk about spark plug access. It actually had a heavily upholstered dashboard with an oval hatch in the middle that you would unscrew to get to the distributor. Because the engine was jammed so far under the dash, if you needed to time it, you had to take the dash apart a little bit. But it was an access panel that was specifically for it. You take it off and you could you could clock the distributor.
So that is actually a thought I've had as far as why aside from the size,
Why the Ford was so popular, because the distributor is in the
correct
front.
Is in the right location.
Are you listening, 1950s V8 engine designers? In the front.
Where does Chrysler put their distributor?
Depends. Small blocks in the back, big blocks in the front.
Okay.
So there you go. Maybe that was why they liked the big block.
Welcome to Junk Connoisseurs, where we try to affect 1950s and 60s engine designs from 2020 something. But you're right, Jordan. I think the Europeans knew how to build cars that we like to drive in the U.S. And we knew how to build cheap, high-output engines that weren't cranky like Ferraris or some of the others out there. Spark plugs every so often, change the oil. There's not a whole lot of maintenance, preventive maintenance involved in these old V8 engines.
It's not that the British and the Italians and the French couldn't do it. It's that America never based their road tax on engine displacement.
That's
So in England, if you wanted a car with more than 2 liters, it was going to be expensive. So they would give you a tuned 2-liter engine.
Yeah.
And over here, we'd be like, well, we get the same horsepower out of 5 liters, but it's not stressed,
Yep.
and it is the same price. And that's, I think, kind of the reason that
Gas cost a nickel a
gas was
gallon.
always cheaper here. We've never taxed gas as heavily as the other countries have. So, yeah, I mean, we've it's not that we've never cared about fuel economy. It's just that we've never penalized bad fuel economy as much,
Yeah.
And I don't know. Big cars were always a status symbol, which was the same as it was over there. But over there, a big car would be a midsize over here.
Oh,
you know?
yeah. I saw at, we were all there, but at Cars and Coffee this past weekend, there was a Jaguar series.
Mark II.
Mark II, yeah. So, sedan.
Oh, it was cool.
It was very cool.
Yeah.
Big straight six. Overall, it was a relatively small car. Like, there was also a Nova there. The Jaguar was substantially smaller than a Nova, which
Right.
in the United States at the time period the Nova was here
Mid-size
was
car.
was
Compact.
moderately small.
Yeah.
And here's this Jaguar, which is like the status symbol for the I can't afford a Rolls Royce crowd, and
Those were even a little compact by English standards, because when the XJ came out, when they replaced it, because they made the Mark X first, which was their attempt to make an American car, which almost looks like an overinflated caricature of a Mark II, but it's like this big, same style, and they're like, this will sell great in America. It didn't. And then with the XJ, they were like, I remember the marketing tagline was grace, pace, and space. They're like, yes, we realize you can barely fit your whole family into a Mark II. Here, this is bigger, And it was marginally bigger. It was still small by American luxury car standards, but yeah.
But the fact that when the Mark II came out, it was a large,
large-ish, yeah.
but it was like a luxury status symbol, and it's not any bigger than like a Ford Focus.
It was big because it was fast as hell.
That's
by
true.
their standards.
Yeah,
it was a 120 mile an hour family sedan, which was just not a thing
Yeah,
over there.
it was really good at robbing banks.
Yeah, thieves and gangsters loved it.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, it was the same drivetrain essentially as an E-Type.
yeah.
And it's like, oh, but you got a back seat, so you can rob a bank and kidnap a security guard and still have room for your accomplice.
That's right.
So,
Room for all
Well,
of it.
you need a team of 4,
right.
and it has a trunk, so that's where all the loot goes. Yeah. Haven't you guys ever planned a bank robbery
It's a
before?
Jag. I was in a bank robbery once.
Okay.
Not
I'm
kidding.
assuming you were laying
This
on the
is
floor
a
with
car.
your hands.
This is a great car story,
Oh,
actually.
God.
All right, so this would have been 2001. I'm 18 years old. I am living in an apartment here in Columbia on my own for the first time. And I have a friend who I had known from high school who was very similar to me in a lot of ways, also car obsessed. And it's the 7th of the month, and I go and I open the door. I go out down to get the mail, and I see that there's an eviction notice, in air quotes, stapled to our door. And it's like, we got to pay our rent. So, all right.
How do you know otherwise?
Right? So we go to the bank, and we get there at like 8:52, and it opens at 9. And we're parked in the bank parking lot just waiting. This is pre-smartphone days, so we're just like staring at each other and making fun of each other. And there's one other car in the parking lot. 9 o'clock comes. They come unlock the doors. We get out of our car. The other guy gets out of his car. We go inside. There's 2 tellers. We're getting cash. And the guy who got out of his car is also getting cash. And all of a sudden, the guy who got out of his car sprints to the door. The other teller screams and slams her hand on a button under the counter, and the manager comes out and goes, "Nobody move, we've been robbed." So literally an FBI agent shows up like 45 minutes later to ask questions, and he's like, "Hey guys, did you see anything about the other guy who robbed the bank?" And we're both like, "He was a black guy between the ages of 25 and 70, probably between 5'8" and 6'7", and somewhere between 140 and 300 pounds. He had hair." And they're looking at me like, "You guys are super useful. Did you happen to see what he drove? Chris and I look at each other and we're like, yeah, it was a two-tone red over gray 80 Chevy S Blazer, 4-wheel drive, little rust behind the back door in front of the wheels, and it was a 2-door. Chris is like, it was a 4-door. I'm like, it was a 2-door. He's like, I got $20, says it was a 4-door. And the FBI agent is looking at us like we have sprouted second heads because we couldn't tell you anything about this person standing 6 inches away from him. But we noticed the 20-year-old SUV he was driving.
Yep.
And they found him based on our description of the car,
Nice.
and it was a 2-door. Chris, you still owe me $20. So yeah.
Which you could not have stolen from the bank that day.
No, we couldn't
Yeah,
have. They were out of cash,
were
from what I understand.
out of cash, and there were law enforcement officers around.
Yeah. So yeah, it was the U.S. Bank up on Forum in front of Schnucks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, see, it all comes back to cars.
Yeah, it does. A few other items about this. The vast majority of these Sunbeam Tigers were built for and sold in the U.S. There were a few that were kept in England, and even some right-hand drive ones that I guess were police cars. Some of them were police cars.
That's
Maybe I heard something
Pursuit
made me
units.
think, pursuit units, maybe because motorcycles were getting pretty fast at the time. But I don't know. That was an interesting point. They had a pretty good racing presence. Clearly, they were marketed as a sports car, so they did pretty good, I think, in the SCCA road racing circuit. That kind of stuff. Did okay in drag racing in their class. I don't know what their class was, but people say it held a record for few years in its class. I don't know what that is.
There's so many drag racing classes.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
It's like the only thing with more classes is land speed racing, where if you look, you can just find a stock vehicle, show up, and be like, "I got this Plymouth Voyager running on methanol," and they're like, "Oh yeah, a fuel minivan, cool. Yeah, the record's 81 miles an hour. Go nuts."
Well, and evidently they did pretty good at. In some rally racing in Europe for a couple of years, and then the landscape kind of changed, and they got away from sports cars so much. I didn't look too far into what they did get into, but 2-wheel drive, low slung sports cars weren't really the hot ticket anymore because other stuff was beating them out. And they fielded a couple of them, I think, in 24 Hours of Le Mans, but didn't have much success with finishing that. There was some durability issues of some sort. So don't know what that was, but it has a little bit of racing provenance there. This was Maxwell Smart's car in Get Smart.
Both the original and the remake, I think.
Yep,
yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
Not a Tiger, but an Alpine that the Tiger was based on was driven in Jamaica by Sean Connery as James Bond in Dr. No. That's kind of cool.
Okay.
I remember seeing that scene, and he's being chased.
Cosmetically, there's not much difference between an Alpine and a Tiger.
There's
really not any way to tell at a glance, right?
People recreate Tigers out of Alpines because they were a lower value and probably more attainable at some point.
Still are. Alpines are. I mean, I think MGBs are less expensive, but they're very much an attainable sports car still. Yeah, I think you can get a decent runner for under 10.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
Tigers are 4 times that, but Alpines,
but you could make a Tiger knockoff for 20.
A Tiger knockoff pretty easily, yeah.
Wow.
Never won Car of the Year from Motor Trend. I never saw it named that.
Why are we even talking about
Didn't
it?
find any Hot Wheels or Matchbox versions of it. It was pretty, again, not really iconic, even though in my mind, I've only seen a couple of these back in my youth, and there was one that showed up in an autocross I saw a couple of times, and I was just drooling over the concept of this thing. It sounded cool. I mean, again, it's like an MGB, but made V8 noises. Mm-hmm. What couldn't you love?
Right.
So I don't know. You guys tell me. Is it in any of the Gran Turismo games or
I have no
anything like
idea.
that? That'd be fun.
You ask us this. We haven't played racing video. Well, I haven't played racing video games in about 10 years. Right?
Well,
realistically.
Yeah, same.
It wasn't in Excite Bike, so that's all I know.
It does overheat like Excite Bike. But
So that's all I really had on the discussion points of it. Unless anybody else had anything, we can transition into the "Would you buy it?" segment of the show where we all lie through our teeth and say, sure, we'd love to buy it, but we'll never find one. And then we find one and we don't buy it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The ones we could buy are not the ones that anybody wants.
That is true.
Nobody wants these because they're going to be a $4,000 burnt husk.
But, and just hear me out here, we're suckers.
That is true.
So, so, Jordan, would you buy a Sunbeam Tiger if presented an example that you would like to have at a reasonable price?
Well, that's the problem, though. Who's determining the reasonable
Well,
price?
so tell me, what would it take for you to buy one of these?
If I could get one that ran and drove and it's like $5,000, hell yeah. But that does pose the question: if I found an Alpine for that needed work for $6,000, that is a bit more appealing because this is a well-trod path. You literally could look at pictures online from an actual tiger to see the things that they changed. So that's more appealing than an actual tiger, partially because a $40,000+ British V8 Roadster sounds awesome, but we're getting into the arena of I'm afraid to drive it.
Yeah.
A Cobra kit car is not the same to me because it's not 60 years old.
Right.
It's 20 years old or whatever. And it's also made with more modern techniques. You know, those are generally square tube frame, and you can get replacement parts and fiberglass bodies, so those are repairable. You can buy new parts. You can't do that with this.
Right.
So, to be honest, no,
Yeah.
I probably
No,
wouldn't. It's awesome. I totally would want one.
Right.
No way.
Like so many of the things we talk about, I either totally want one and I know I'll never have one, or I would never want to own one because it's a piece of junk. This is the former.
This is definitely the former.
Yeah.
It's very cool. I would totally have one.
Yeah.
I cannot afford one.
Right. No, I
Yeah.
agree.
Hagerty says, number 4 condition, 67 Sunbeam Tiger, $38,000. So
yeah,
that's a
40 grand,
driver
yeah.
is $40,000.
Well, and 67 would also be a 289 one.
Yeah, I bet an earlier one would be slightly cheaper. But
yeah.
I pulled up a diagram. I think it was Bring a Trailer or something, all the ones that had sold. And what's interesting about these is there didn't seem to be much of a spike around the 2020 timeframe
Really?
like everything else. And they seem to me not very clustered, but more heavy around the $40,000 to $60,000 mark from what I saw. And I don't really know what I was looking at, but that's what I think I saw. And so, yeah, I mean, they're a high value deal, but they're not Cobra. They still
they're
aren't
not.
poor man's Cobra.
They're average person with a good retirement plan.
Yeah.
Like these are an attainable classic. 30. Apparently,
wanna-
a 64 Sunbeam's about 30. So
Do I want a Piper Cherokee or do I want a Sunbeam? I mean, right? Like,
The
do you want a third of a Piper Cherokee?
Okay. Well,
Because
an airplane is
airplanes
what I was
have gone insane in the
Also-
last 5 years.
Yeah.
Stay on the ground.
Oh, I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do not fly cheap aircraft. If you want to fly, go to American Airlines or your airline of choice.
So, Alan, how about you? Would you like to have one of these? Would you consider purchasing one?
It's intriguing, and I absolutely like the idea of American V8 and British Roadster.
Yeah.
I've always kind of thought about like a TR6 with a V8 or an MGB with a Ford Windsor actually works fairly well. It can be done. Mm-hmm. They made a factory V8 MGB, but they didn't make very many of them. Mm-hmm. There's a lot to like, and I can't say it'd be the first thing on my purchasing list, but the right deal in the right situation, right color, right condition, I could see myself doing it.
You wouldn't turn your nose up at it.
No, not at all. I do like the way they look.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dig it. I doubt I ever will, but
Yeah,
it is not something I'm going to say, I don't see it happening,
Like a lot of the cooler ones we look at, I'm with you as
Mm-hmm.
far as my answer is, would I like to own one? Oh, yeah, I would love to own one. Hey, maybe at some point in the future I would be in a situation where I could buy one as a collector car, but then I don't think I would, as we have discussed many times. What do you do with a showpiece that is too valuable to go have fun on back roads or on a track day? I mean, you could do track day or something like historic events or something like that, but I would love to have one, but it would probably make more sense to get a low value something and kind of roll your own.
Yeah. I can see myself buying an Alpine and putting a V8 in it and, building my own Tiger.
Yeah. Frankly, at this point, if an Alpine came along that was an affordable deal, I might just put around in it with stock, with a 4-cylinder.
Yeah.
You heard him, listeners.
Yeah.
I might just. You can quote me on that.
Well, if you're going to talk about British roadsters, there's like a dozen choices.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, I've always found the weird looks of the TR4 to be appealing just because they're so weird. Yeah. And I think something like that with, a modern fuel-injected Duratec or Ecotec or whatever would be that, that's 150 horsepower. That car is going to be way scary.
You could
with 150
you could go
horsepower.
all out and spend half of what a Sunbeam Tiger would cost you
Oh, yeah.
building that. Of course,
Right.
you'd have
Yeah.
hundreds of hours and a lot of blood.
So like an MG midget is $6,000 or $7,000 for a nice one, and that's fun. It's
Yeah.
tiny. An MGB is 12,
Yeah.
15,000 for a nice one.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to justify. The Alpine, maybe, if you could find one for 12, but there's probably just not that many of them out there. Whereas if you want an MGB, they're kind of everywhere.
I don't think the Alpine ever sold over here anyway, anywhere near as well as the B and the
Right,
Spitfire
right,
and
right.
the usual suspects.
Yeah,
so to
I didn't
speak.
even
you're
get
right.
into the Triumph offering.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I did TR4, but
Yeah.
anyway, sorry.
Well,
Or
yeah.
any of the stuff from Italy. Like this market is littered with choices if you want a 60s convertible from Europe. So it's I don't know. You just kind of pick whichever one is the most.
Well, I think
Fitting.
it's unanimous. We all appreciate this car,
Oh, yeah.
but don't see ourselves realistically probably having an opportunity to own one. Or if we did, we probably wouldn't feel like capitalizing on that opportunity because
Right.
we're not investment car guys.
Well, and you're halfway to a Pantera if you are at
Yeah,
if you're at this level of money, you might as well just keep saving.
full dumbass baby. Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm surprised nobody has reproduced the Pantera. That strikes me as something that
Well, there's not going to be anybody to yell at you like Ferrari. Like, who owns the rights to that?
oh, I'm sure that there's somebody out there. I know there is like a corporate successor to De Tomaso, but I would figure that would be one that they would even like to reproduce because the thing I look at a Cobra replica and I'm like, that would be awesome, except there's no top and there's no way to put a top on it. And there is, but you've got
They don't-
plastic sliding side screens and they don't seal very well.
And they
I'm
don't
like,
look great.
yeah, it's like I would love to have an all-season replica,
Well, or at least 3 seasons.
3
You know,
season. Yeah,
rain.
yeah.
You can go out
You know.
here.
You're not gonna
Cobra in the
drive in the
snow.
snow. Yeah. I need snow tires for my Lamborghini Miura. That's something nobody's ever said.
Yeah. No, like the Type 65 coupe exists.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And those are super cool, but I also don't think that they're easy to get in and out of or comfortable to sit in. Like,
Yeah.
the Cobras are not, but not having a roof really helps in
Right.
that regard. But then again, now I say that, the Pantera is almost certainly not comfortable to sit in.
Who cares?
Yeah, no,
Oh
that's
my
true.
God, who
You're
cares?
right.
It would be
You're right.
I would put up with a crappy driving position to drive one of those.
Sure.
scoliosis.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Man.
As somebody who did the Miata nod for like 4 years after he stopped driving a Miata whenever he got in a car, it's like
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just I was thinking of a 3-season car.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
that you are going to go get groceries
Yeah.
in.
That's the thing. I would like to be able to lock my a bag if I drive it somewhere for a vacation. I'd like to be able to leave luggage in it and not have to worry about it just being gone. I don't know.
I don't think I would worry about that too much if I was at that point, but who knows?
You're the one of us who doesn't like convertibles too.
I know that was when
I don't really like them either.
when I introduced this and said, well, it's got all three of the things that make a car cool to me. We can discount that a portion of a point because it's not available as a hardtop. It was only a convertible. I don't dislike convertibles. My aversion to convertibles is mostly practicality and rigidity. It just comes from an engineering and a performance background.
Yeah.
It just you take structure away from something and it's not as good.
Are these a unibody or a full frame?
I didn't look. I assume it's
would
a
think.
unibody style construction, maybe with some little subframe type.
Designed to be a convertible from the jump, so probably a little stiffer, I would think. I don't know.
And I didn't look into the design background either. I did see some mention of heavy not parts bin engineering, but design file engineering by sharing, okay, we'll take this from the Hillman whatever and that from this other Roots product vehicle and incorporate these designs. And again, don't quote me, I didn't go very far into looking into that stuff, but it seems like they kind of, not unlike any conglomerate car company would do now and has been doing for the last 50 or more years. They take, the Mustang is taken from the Falcon, and
if it already works and you already have the design, you may as well use it.
Yeah, and you just combine those Legos a little differently to come up with something that meets this target. Yeah.
But if it's coming off of a sedan, it's probably over engineered for it weighs too much for what this is. So.
Yeah. But I do think that I don't know how this was as a convertible rigidity-wise, but it was good enough to put a V8 in the front of and go blast around road courses and drag strips and, well, they probably put roll cages in them for rally, but...
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, as Alan was getting at, like, if you design a car to be a convertible from the beginning, then it's usually fine. Toyota MR2 Spider, Honda S2000, Porsche Boxster. I'm missing a whole bunch, but these are all cars that are not flawed because of that.
Right.
However, if you look at something like, I don't know, any number of things, but mid-90s Mustang is a great example where you cut the top off of it and it doesn't do what it's supposed to anymore because all of a sudden it's very floppy.
Yes, very floppy.
Every Italian car that was a hardtop and then turned into a convertible is apparently
it's al dente.
Yes, it's al dente. This is one of those things like Jeremy Clarkson Top Gear stuck with me with convertibles is that every car that he drove that they had a coupe and they made it a convertible, it never drove as nice.
Yes.
Of course, then you had the Yabo Hammond over there just like ripping down the straightaway at 140 miles an hour because he's got a Ferrari V8 behind him and it's glorious.
Yep.
Like, okay, I see both sides, but...
That is precisely kind of my feelings behind it. I'm not as big a fan of convertibles, even though I've owned a handful. It's just like why I like rear-wheel drive cars better than front-wheel drive cars. They can all do the same things. There's just a inherent rightness of car with all the structure and the roof. So.
Well, and front versus rear drive is your front tires do the steering. Let's not make them do more stuff.
Yeah. That's
all things considered, oversteer is always better than understeer.
Oh my gosh!
If you have to choose between a mode of bad steer, you want more, not less.
Not all my choices are altruistic and based on design and stuff like that. Rear wheel drive's just cooler. Yes, oversteer is better than understeer.
Well, and if you're driving up a mountain pass, the inside of a corner is never a cliff.
It's true.
The outside is almost always a cliff. So oversteer into the inside of the corner is fine. Not so much the other way.
All right. Well, thanks for exploring the Sunbeam Tiger with us this evening and listening. I do have a little bit of a shout out. I wanted to mention I was talking with we've mentioned James before at the tuning spot here local to us.
So you can dox people and it's fine.
But see, this is free advertising.
This is
for his
advertising.
business.
Yes, that is that. And
Right.
these guys listen to me in the. These guys listen to us in the shop.
Oh, yeah. We see how it is. We see how it is.
I'm the guy
First
that-
among equals, McGinnis. Sure, they're listening to you. I mean, when we're on, it's just wah 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 wah. It's like
He's nailing it.
it's
How did you know
Alex
this?
and Charlie Brown's parents on the car podcast over here.
Here's the thing, though, is that they're going to get a lot of the want-wahs because Alan talks a lot.
No, I think what was. I don't need to defend myself there. You don't think I actually feel that way, but these,
Don't put words in his mouth.
I'm the one that was in front of them in person when they. Wait, yeah. So James at the tuning spot mentioned that after that this made him listen to Beep Beep, the Little Nash Rambler song a few episodes back. I mentioned it, and he said, "Oh, I went and listened to it because of that." And he said, "So while we're on the subject, we all know, and maybe we don't all know, us three all know, Commander Cody and his Lost Planet Airmen singing the Hot Rod Lincoln song. That's the version that I know most because I think it was the most popular one. There were other versions, and he said one that he really likes is by Jim Varney, who we know as Ernest P. Worrell,
Yep.
from the soundtrack of The Beverly Hillbillies from 1993, a feature-length film that was made in 1993 featuring Jim Varney and him singing Hot Rod Lincoln. And James, you're right. That's a pretty good version of the song.
I've never heard that version, but this is kind of a cool callback. Jim Varney was a proud DeLorean owner because I read an anecdote once from his nephew about riding around with his Uncle Jim in a DeLorean, and like they were King Turd of Shit Mountain in their town because they had a DeLorean, and he was like, it was cool even before Back to the Future came out, and then we were rock stars because apparently Jim Varney, like, that was his daily driver, was a DeLorean for a
Nice.
lot of years.
Know what I mean, Vern?
Was Jim Varney even in the Beverly Hillbillies movie?
I believe
Yeah,
so.
he was
I think
Jed.
he was Jed.
Yeah.
I haven't,
I haven't
seen the
that
movie. Yeah, I
in-
haven't either.
Well, since probably the early 90s.
Oh, I've never seen it.
We rented it on VHS from the local grocery store.
Oh, you peasant. We had beta.
So,
We didn't. Nobody had beta.
Yeah, I was like, well,
Also,
look
that
at
was
you.
10 years after beta was gone.
so everybody go listen to Jim Varney's version of Hot Rod Lincoln from the Beverly Hillbillies soundtrack, 1993. However, that sent me down a little bit more of a rabbit hole, as it were, today. There are a lot of versions of this song out there, several of them fantastic. I looked into this a little bit. I knew Commander Cody and his Lost Planet Airmen's version because that's what I heard going to car shows and stuff like that growing up. However, this song was originally by Charlie Ryan back in the 50s, I believe, then was covered not long after by Johnny Bond, which is not a bad cover. I also heard versions by Bill Kircher, I think. Bill Kirchen. I also heard versions by Bill Kirchen, pretty good. Asleep at the Wheel, probably one of my favorite that I heard today. I've just learned of all these today. And Les freaking Claypool,
That does not surprise me.
which is a pretty psychedelic version, but pretty cool. So if you're looking for something to listen to 8 times in a row,
You're not going to shout out Roger Miller here?
Roger Miller had a version that I didn't listen to today, but I did. Yes, that would be a good one too. That
He's
will
my
enjoy.
spirit animal, so I'm going to...
Roger Miller's awesome. So
Yeah.
yeah. So go listen to some versions of Hot Rod Lincoln and stay fresh, cheese bags.
So I'm actually going to watch Primus in August.
They suck.
So hopefully I'll get some Hot Rod Lincoln.
That's what they'd say too.
Where are you going to see him?
St. Louis, some outdoor venue, I think.
Festival or just Primus?
Primus and Coheed and Cambria.
Okay. I never got into Coheed and Cambria.
I only listened to him like 2 years ago for the first time, and it's wild.
Everything's a concept album.
What? And it's all connected. It's like
and
a whole universe.
There's like a mythology about it, and
Yeah.
I'm looking at it. I'm like, this sounds interesting. I don't have time for this.
No, I
I don't even
I
know
just
who they
enjoyed the music. I don't want to
Yeah.
learn about it.
Yeah.
Because they've got like freaking 9 albums too, and they're
Mm-hmm.
all 3 hours long or something. Like
Yeah.
it's modern day Rush is what it is. Like
No,
Okay.
that's Tool. Tool is Rush for millennials. They're great, but their fans are insane. And their fans think they are the
guess.
best band in the world and just want to tell you about how they're the best band in the world. I like both Tool and Rush, and they're both way overrated by their fandoms. You know,
I've never
Coheed and Cambria has the same Rush like operatic, encyclopedic
Yeah, no, it
like-
was more about the
yeah, the
execution.
storytelling, yeah.
yeah.
But in terms of the fan base and the drive the level of adulation they get, yeah, Tool is Rush for millennials.
So where are they on the scale of Jan and Dean and C.W. McCall? Somewhere in between.
Has anybody ever told you were born 30 years too late? Because I think everybody should have told you that.
It's like 1992, young Alex is approaching something. It's like, boy, you're 30 years too late for this.